Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest-running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of 2 college athletes. He has a wealth of experience to share. Here's Recruit Me CEO, Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 430 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. Today is part 1 of an interview with Andy Allanson from Elite Academic Academy in Southern California. Andy, or Coach Allanson, is the athletic lead for Elite Academy. Here in part 1 of a 2-part interview, Andy will give his background and an introduction to what Elite Academy does for student athletes. Andy gives you some great information that you can take as a student athlete and as a recruit. I will summarize this episode at the end of this episode and introduce you to next week's episode, part 2 of the interview. Well, Andy, welcome to the Athletic Scholarship Podcast.
Good morning, Brent.
Glad you made it. Can you tell us a little bit where you are, where you live, where you work?
I'm out here in Southern California. I live in Los Angeles. I work with Elite Academic Academy. We're a free K through 12 public charter school here in Southern California, and we serve 8 counties. Gosh, that's probably over 20 million students, student athletes in our school district. In 4 years, we've already reached the governor's list of distinguished schools of California. So we're really proud of that as what we're doing as a whole on the education side.
And we're going to get into the student athletes, but what are some of the other things that Elite Academics Academy does for your student athletes and other students that are in the program?
I'm really proud of the last 2 years of what we've grown to become. This past summer, we had over 2,000 student athletes from high school student athletes from all over Southern California come to the Rose Bowl for a day of sports testing. And then they'll spend 6 weeks studying with us through the summer. And then they'll go back to their respective high schools for the traditional school year. The summer before, we had the student athletes for sports testing again at SoFi Stadium. And these aren't just football players. These are volleyball players and baseball players and soccer players, just grown into just an amazing event and opportunity for young athletes to get a snapshot, because they are all on that quest to play after high school and to compete beyond high school.
And before we get more into Elite Academy and then Peak Performance, which is kind of what your side of it is called, give us your background in sports and how you got to where you are.
A lot of amazing chapters, Brent. Started my sports journey on the East Coast in Virginia and was fortunate enough to attend the University of Richmond, Go Spiders. Was recognized as an All-American baseball player at the University of Richmond and eventually selected in the second round by the Cleveland Indians. 1986 was my rookie season in the big leagues. Very fortunate, spent almost better parts of 10 seasons in the major leagues, played with 7-8 different organizations. Memories of a lifetime. Skill set in athletics has translated outside the game. Father of 5, all of them play sports. Have 2 in college today and a third one on their way next year. Through my sports journey and the knowledge that we learn as players, I had an academy here in Southern California, focused predominantly on baseball, and saw the transition of young athletes, both on the field and also in the classroom, when they started getting attention for the efforts they were putting out for their respective sport. Predominantly baseball, when we were cutting our teeth now 10, 12, 15 years ago. Have always been around sports testing, want young athletes to have an objective way to measure where they are, not just based on statistics. Statistics sometimes can be misleading, and there's a lot of a subjective input in the sports world. Oh, he reminds me of, and man, he's just like, and we get a lot of that. So the opportunity to put measurables on athletes today, and we're seeing it at a younger ages. I mean, we have some metrics on athletes all the way down to 9 and 10 years old. But it opens the mind, lets them understand I've got to do more than just hit in the cage or throw my bullpens or run my patterns or dribble through my cones. So there's the skill set development, and then there's the athletic development. And so through my journey in the academy and revolving what we did around testing, I was invited to join the three founders of Elite in developing an athletic program, one that really looks at three distinct areas with our student athletes. And that's in testing, and then that's in training, and that's in recruiting. And these are the very systems, the very approach that we experience success with in the academy world that now we've been able to transition into education. And now we're seeing it come really full circle, because when I started this 6 years ago, I never imagined that we would be at SoFi Stadium having high school CIF players from Southern California come out to our school for an event, because we're just a charter, independent study, public, and today, pretty impressive.
Well, and you mentioned stats and metrics. Kind of maybe give us some examples of what kind of metrics you guys test for maybe volleyball or soccer or, like you said, baseball, football.
We keep the sports testing in the summer in our Level Up program to a general. We don't take it into sports specific. For example, we could get into how hard you're hitting a baseball, how consistent are you, what is the spin rate on your kicks or serves. The same they do with golf. Where we want to stay is first and foremost is on the athlete. So we leave skill specific, although it translates, but we leave skill specifics out of our testing in the summer. In the summer, we'll test 40-yard dash, and we'll have electronic timers, Zybeck, and Zybeck comes out and sets up on the field for all the testing to be done digitally. And we're able to track and store those results and that data. Zybeck is also, probably for 10 years plus, they've been doing the NFL combines each year. And a lot of that gets broadcast. So we've had an understanding of sports testing in combines. Today, Zybeck also does it for MLB, I think going on their fourth year of hosting a combine pre-draft. And they do some stuff with the, I believe, WNBA. The point of it is that those numbers are accurate. Again, able to stay objective. So we set the field up. We'll do vertical jump, pro agility. Some call it the 5-10-5. We'll even measure their grip strength, because there's not a lot of opportunities for athletes to grab their grip strength unless they're maybe training at a performance center. They'll have some of the tools around to capture. We also at our school have a baseline assessment. We've been able to provide to our students, student athletes, a DIY, not that they're going to be sharing this data with a school at this time. It's to give them a baseline and understanding. Where are you today as an athlete? Right now today. And how are you measuring up against your peers, other kids your age, whether you're 14, whether you're 16, whether you're 12. And that's what we sort of do as athletes, and to give them the ability, regardless of where they live in our 8 counties, to know, how are they measuring up, whether you live out in the Mojave area that's not as populated as Orange County, or you live in East County down in San Diego. You have the ability to draw on where you are, and also begin to focus on what should I be working on right now. Right now, this time, it's an off season. My travel team's not playing. My league isn't playing, or it is season. What should I do to support my in-season play that's going to still allow me to not be too tired, too overtrained. So there's a balance in developing young athletes. We've had a lot of success.
So you said earlier that you work with a lot of student athletes during the summer, and then a lot of times they go back to their high school. So do they just come to you as a volunteer? They just kind of raise their hand, get involved with you guys, and then go play their sports like I guess any other student athlete would do at their high school and in their clubs and so forth.
Close. These students sign up to do track A, what you and I would traditionally know as summer school. And they enroll in our school for the summer. All 2,500 of them enroll in our school for the summer. And they'll take 2 courses that are NCAA approved. And during that time, we will schedule an event for sports testing to provide them. We even, the last 2 years, have given the students a whoop to track some of their matrices with their body and learning to understand rest and recovery. So it's the ability to give them more than just a 1 day of testing. And we're already looking at other options as well, because we know that every student, here's what we know today. 70% of the kids in elite academic academy, and it's consistent across the country in schools, 70% of them are playing sports or have an interest in participating and getting involved in sports, maybe for the first time. And we also know that of that 70% of the students, 85% of them will raise their hand and want to go on to play in college or compete after high school. If we're talking hockey's a little different pathway. They're not looking to go to college. They're looking to get into some of the club play, and that's their stacking order of progression. But 85% of those students will want to go on to play in college. Now, the kids that are committing, we all hear about the kids committing in the 9th grade and so forth. They don't need a lot of help, meaning that they may have some physical gifts. They may have put in a ton of time already by the time they're 14, that the right program is able to project, because that's how they do their recruiting. But most 80% of the students will learn and realize that if you want to play after high school, there's a place to play. And let's maximize, number one, your opportunities by becoming your best version of you. And let's maximize the family's resources, because families, man, this is a commitment. And they'll spend weekends and miles and hours. And the reward sometimes is professional opportunities. But with most, they're very humble to receive that opportunity for them to keep playing and pursuing beyond high school. And so these families are all in, and that's important to know. And we understand that as a school. The workshops that we design and create have parents in our thoughts, because we want them to be there to understand this journey, because they're the ones that's driving them to practice. And they're the ones that are trying to scope out the next opportunity in the pathway. And so if we can help avoid some landmines, draw on years of experience, and very often this is their first, and the second sibling usually makes out a lot better in the family, because the older brother or sister sort of was where mom and dad learned from. And so it gets a little smoother with the second one coming through. Whether it's these kids coming to us in the summer, whether it's our students that are with us year round, these athletes are doing the sports testing, they're doing the training, they're doing the tournaments, and they're doing that for an opportunity to play after high school. So let's embrace it, let's support it, let's do our work on our side as mentors and educators to provide the tools that make it both efficient and provide success at allowing these kids to chase their goals and their dreams.
And Andy, before I forget, why don't you give us some information on how to get a hold of you or how to get information about Elite Academy, Academics Academy, like your website, or if you want to give an email?
I'll give my our website first. I'm so proud of our school, and you can just set and see what education and sports working together today can really create for these young kids. Just impressive. Our school website is www.eliteacademic.com. I welcome those that would like to inquire, learn more about our school, more about. I love sharing the recruiting journey. I've seen various efforts. I've seen kids and families spend lots of money on recruiting, and I've seen them spend a lot less. And success in both. Success in both. I'll say that it comes back to the student athlete. I used to think years ago that I could will an athlete to the finish line because I played in the major leagues, or I have this perspective. That's not the case. I can support you. I can give you some guidance, but at the end of the day, it's going to come back. Are you willing to put in those 8 to 12 hours a week before the tournament, before the game? Because if you are, you're going to see a pretty good version of yourself, and you're going to have some opportunities to play at schools that you wouldn't have otherwise. My email address at Elite is Allanson. I'll spell that AALLANSON at eliteacademic.com. And so if there's any follow-up from me, I'd love to hear your questions, your thoughts.
Andy takes his athletic past as an All-American college baseball player at Richmond, his major league career, and his experience with his kids to help others to reach their academic and athletic dreams. Andy's contact information and Elite's website information is listed in the show notes. Please check them out. Take Andy's information about metrics, developing an enhancement program, and how to get your baseline assessments and use them to improve your athletic experience and your mental and physical health. Next week's episode gets more into recruiting and Recruit Me's future relationship with Elite Academic Academy. Thank you for listening, and join me next week for another 15 minutes that will change your athletic scholarship future on the Athletic Scholarship Podcast.